Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is the Monday, June 27th Town Board meeting for the town of Lewisboro. If you will, please rise in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I always forget the exits. So there's an exit towards the front of the building, an exit towards the rear here. We'll start with the public hearing. So motion to open first public hearing, which is regarding the proposed amendment to chapter 212 vehicles and traffic for one stop sign.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone here? Something to say? No? How about on Zoom?
I do have somebody, Tony,
Okay.
Danielle Nanavaji.
Okay.
I'll ask you to unmute. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, thank you. Hi, my name is Daniel Nanavaji. I'm on 2 Pond Street in Golden's Bridge. Try to be as brief as I can. Thanks for hearing us. Some additional feedback from the police chief and highway superintendent was sent over to us regarding the request that we have placed. As a civil servant myself, I certainly respect their opinion on this matter and their positions within the town. We've lived here for 3 years now and felt the negative impacts of this intersection almost immediately. We were actually shocked at the lack of signage there, given the amount of traffic and pedestrians entering and exiting the community using Pond Street every day. 3-way intersections without any stop sign are generally pretty rare, let alone a busy road like this. Not a week goes by, there isn't a close call we witness from our backyard or kitchen window. Our neighbors have been dealing with the negative impacts for much longer. Being the only resident on the intersection with small children and who responds to traffic accidents for a living, I felt compelled to get the conversation going. I do agree with the chief and superintendent that stop signs should not be used for speed control, but that doesn't mean that the result of stop sign placement here won't be reduced traffic speed. I also agree with stop signs frustrating drivers. I mean, who hasn't been frustrated by a stop sign in their life? Also, this location being a breeding ground for disrespect to traffic control devices, I'm not sure the basis of this argument, especially applied to commercial vehicles whose livelihood depends on their driving record. We would think more often than not, these drivers would be compelled to respect all traffic signs. With that said, not all intersections are the same, and this one is unique for a few reasons. It's on a dirt road that sees significant commercial traffic, and if anyone needs to brake hard to avoid a pedestrian or collision, that vehicle is not going to stop abruptly, if at all, on the dirt or gravel road. Pond Street north-south is a pretty long drag with a significant incline. Commercial rigs heading south up the hill turn in off 138 and immediately feel the need to accelerate all the way to Hillside, blowing through the intersection, often without even looking down hole for a pedestrian or other vehicle. And why would they? There is no reason to. And traffic heading north on Pond toward 138, ride the hill all the way down, hitting max speed, right at the Hall Pond intersection, again, hardly acknowledging anyone coming off Hall the other way, and again, no reason to, given the current lack of traffic control or signage at the intersection. I don't see how stop signs here wouldn't slow that traffic pattern, ultimately making it way safer for everyone than it is now. There's also the issue of the massive dust clouds that get dragged behind the commercial rigs and cars of anyone traveling this road. On real dry days when the road is the most dusty, it makes it virtually impossible to be outside for any of the residents on Pond or Hall. We've thought a lot about this and feel a 3-way stop would greatly reduce the impact of dust. This is a huge quality of life issue for everybody. We have actually needed to run away from dust clouds with our small children just yesterday. Again, I do see where the chief and superintendent are coming from and do agree with some of their downsides and have even considered some downsides that they didn't mention, like hearing people squeaky brakes. But a stop sign on Hall only solves about 1/3 of the big issue we see here. With all that said, I think the upsides far outweigh the downsides. And to be honest, as bad as this sounds, I feel like a traffic incident here is inevitable, given what we see on a daily basis. Thanks again for hearing us out on this, and we appreciate your attention.
Thank you. Now, this is, it's a public hearing for the one stop sign. He was commenting, so it doesn't really matter. We could, yeah, okay, so we'll continue. Anybody else?
No.
No, okay. So motion to close the public hearing on the one stop sign? Sorry. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Now we have the second public hearing, which is the proposed amendment to chapter 212 vehicles and traffic for a three-way stop sign. Anybody
To move
here
to
already?
open the hearing.
Or open to, yeah, move to open the hearing.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody on Zoom?
No.
Okay.
So
No,
can
and nobody
I
here.
ask some questions?
Um,
I know that briefly we discussed the difference between 1 versus 3 signs the last time. Perhaps you could restate for the matter of the public record, what the findings of our police department were as to why I believe they were not recommending 3 stop signs?
Yeah, so I have that here. I can read that again. So,
Well, just also that there's a yield sign that's in
is the
existence
Osada,
right now.
yeah, on Hall Avenue. So, so the feedback from the highway superintendent was, after meeting with Chief Alfano, we agreed the best solution would be the following: replace the yield sign on Hall Avenue at the intersection with Pond Street with the stop sign. We feel there is no need to make this a three-way stop. I believe the town, yeah, okay, town board have to make a resolution for the sign change. The other feedback here from the chief, the Chief Alfano. My position still remains the same. The speed limit has been lowered to 25 miles per hour because people were talking about 30-mile-an-hour limit. Lewisboro Police hasn't had any complaints, accidents, or requests for digital speed signs to obtain data since I've been here. Most drivers are reasonable and prudent, and unwarranted stop sign installation reduces speed only immediately adjacent to the sign. In most cases, drivers accelerate as soon as possible to a speed faster than they drove before stop signs were installed. Stop signs are not effective for speed control. This particular location will be a breeding ground for disrespect to all traffic control devices and increased running of stop signs. That's from the chief.
And Tony, it looks like somebody came in recently and put their hand up.
Okay, so let's, yeah, that's fine.
It's noted as teacher. I ask that you give your full name, please. I'll ask you to unmute. Teacher.
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Your full name, please, and your hamlet.
Yep. My name is David McDonough. I live in Golden's Bridge. Okay. I agree with what Dan Ninavaji just said before. I am a board member of the community association that this intersection is in. I want to note that the board voted on this topic and voted in favor of pursuing a three-way stop sign at this intersection. So clearly this is something that the residents of this neighborhood feel there is a need for as far as their safety and quality of life. Personally, I live 2 houses down from this intersection on Hall Avenue. I cringe every time I see kids riding their bikes down Hall Ave towards Pond Street. So I know if there's a car coming up or down Pond at that instance, there could be a tragedy that clearly could have been avoided had there been a stop sign on Pond Street. And I personally have also seen a bunch of close calls that generally made my heart drop. And now I'm hesitant to even let my own older kids ride their bikes in that area. In response to what the police chief had said to this request, and with all due respect, I think not wanting to put up stop signs in neighborhoods because people might not abide by them anyway is not really a strong enough reason not to grant this request. If that's the approach to traffic laws in this town, maybe there's a bigger issue on our hands. I know stop signs can be cumbersome, and I would bet that, but I would bet you would get more requests to put up stop signs than you do to take them down. As mentioned before, and as true for probably every neighborhood in the country at this point, there's been a huge increase in commercial traffic over the last 5 years. These drivers aren't necessarily always speeding, but they're on the clock and they drive as such. And the needs for traffic signage in neighborhoods have clearly changed over the years, and there's clearly now a need for a three-way stop at this intersection. Thank you.
Can I just
Thank you,
ask can I ask a question of the, Mr. McDonough, how long you've been a resident over there?
9 years.
Okay. So in your experience, have things changed more recently?
I would, like I said, within the last 5 years, just generally with the commercial traffic, as far, with the Amazon trucks and such, like I'm sure what everyone notices, the FedEx trucks and all that, there's been obviously a major increase of that, which is a major increase of people who don't live in this neighborhood, who don't generally know the roads as well. If you're driving up and down Pond, you would assume any intersecting road on that road would probably have a stop sign. So you're not looking at those intersections. You're driving to where you got to go, and you're going from 138 right up Pond to Hillside without thinking that an intersecting road would not have a stop sign, and cars are generally yielding into that road. And by the time, if you're coming down Hall, by the time you yield into that road, it could be too late, which I've seen. I've seen people have to slam on their brakes a few times. But to answer your question specifically, yes, there's been an increase in mostly commercial traffic in the last, I would say, 5 years since I've been here.
So just ask one other. So you don't think that the suggestion of the police chief as well as highway superintendent, and we went back to them a couple of times to see if they were in the same position after getting initial feedback from people in the community. You don't think that one stop sign with a yield sign is there would serve the purposes that are required?
I don't, because if you're coming down Hall and there's currently a yield sign as you approach Pond Street, as you're yielding and looking both ways, by the time, and just where the houses are situated, by the time you kind of get into that intersection and you're yielding, you're not stopping, you're yielding into that road, you're pretty deep into that road. Whereas if you stopped and slowly looked one way, both, one way, then the other way, and there was the other side on Pond was also stopping, there wouldn't be any chance of kind of yielding into traffic, because the problem on Pond Street is these people are driving up and down, and like I said, not paying attention to what's coming off a Hall, because there's no signage there to tell them that there's an intersection there or anything of that nature. So you have Pond Street where people are going up and down, obviously without a stop sign, and then people yielding into Pond Street from Hall. So both sides, you're running into trouble if you're not coming into a complete stop, which I personally do anyway now, just for my own safety. I stop when I'm coming up Pond to make a left onto Hall. I'll stop, make sure no one's coming down Hall. And when I'm coming to Pond from Hall, I come to a complete stop and look both ways and make my turn. So I see a need for a three-way for those reasons, generally because there's no other signage from on Pond to tell you that Hall is even there. When everything's grown in, and you're not familiar, you might not even know there's an intersection there. So you're not thinking there might be, a kid who's not paying attention, driving his bikes onto, Pond from Hall. You're just not thinking that, especially if you're one of these people who are working, and trying to get from house to house to house in a timely manner, which is their job. They're not thinking, well, there might be something coming off a Hall. Whereas I know that because I live here. But 10 years ago, most people probably lived here who was driving these roads. Now that's not the case.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, I have a question. It's a little tangential, I guess, but what are our town options as far as cameras? Let's say, for sake of argument, there's a problem there, and what are legal options as a town if we wanted to, say, post a stationary camera there to monitor?
No,
I don't know if there's anything that's been done in the town. I know
You're talking about something you could just to monitor?
Traffic control.
Monitor, you can do anything you want, basically, but you can't take anybody to court over it, as you know.
Well, here's some thoughts. One, this has been brought to our attention in writing and verbally by residents there. So technically, in my opinion, the town's on notice of a potentially dangerous condition on a town road. And if we fail to act in a reasonable manner, we put the town at risk. That said,
Well, on that point there, the police chief specifically said there hasn't been any incidents at that intersection that's been reported to the town.
Yet, but that doesn't mean, the residents have seen an increase in the type of traffic and the manner of driving on those roads. Police chief isn't there all, Dave Alfano can't be there all the time, and all due respect to his opinions, I understand he can only go based on the numbers that are reported to him. He has to go by, what the reports are. My thought is, a town engineer, couldn't they do a traffic study there to inform us as to the best way to address the traffic at that intersection? And come up with a plan. I mean, we're talking a yield sign versus a yield sign being replaced by a stop sign versus the idea of 3 stop signs. Perhaps, instead of just going by numbers reported, that we have an appropriate study done at that intersection that would make the proper or the best recommendation on how to handle the traffic at that intersection.
Or if there's a horizontal or vertical geometry thing that would alleviate whatever there's sight distance issues or something like that, a report might tell you that as well. I'm not sure that there is, but
And I personally was
study,
there.
So, yeah,
I saw the traffic and I saw the dust clouds and over last summer. So I understand what they're saying, and I the kids were playing and riding their bikes up and down.
Should we close the public hearing and then the discussion? Is there anybody else that wants to speak now?
My suggestion would be that you might want to hold the public hearing open until such time as if we decide that we're going to do an engineering review, so that we could take that into consideration before we vote or not.
So no hurry to close it if if somebody wants to raise their hand in the next 20 minutes while we're talking.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay,
So
so
Yeah,
keep it open, okay.
We'll put a pause on it. Can we do that?
I would just say that I appreciate our highway superintendents and our chiefs' inputs. I think they follow sort of conventional thinking about this, and the idea, a stop sign at a 3-way, that maybe people might speed up afterwards. I get it. But I think in this case, in this particular situation here, the stop sign is serving kind of as a signal to people, because they may not even know that Hall is coming up. And, might they speed up afterwards as they continue down the street there? Maybe, but I think the positive impact that it would have at the intersection is going to outweigh this. We have a number of places in town where we put this kind of 3-way stop, and each time there's been a similar kind of debate about whether it's worked. And I look at see the one over on Chapel there. Is it perfect? Does everybody come to a complete stop? No, but
Chapel and Mead over there.
Chapel and
Oh, you mean the one in the middle of Chapel, you mean?
where the development road is there.
Yeah.
I think overall it's sending a message to people. It's not like a through road. In this case, I think it's a good signal, and there would be no harm to go forward with it.
Yeah, I think, I compare this to, we also did one on Todd Road. There's a 3-way stop there, and Todd Road is paved, that section. This area is not paved, and I think, as Dan mentioned, the stopping distance is gonna be greater. So someone has to do a hard brake. They're not gonna stop as quick as on a paved road. So I think from that perspective, there's a kid flying down Paul Avenue, as you can see on the map here, going into Pond. Yeah, the stop sign, I think, will give folks an indication that they need to slow down and get ready to stop.
Don't they have signs that there's indicative that there's a stop sign coming up?
Yeah, there are. But the other point I was going to make is, in terms of the traffic or engineering study, yes, we can pay somebody to do that, but it's probably going to cost more than it is to install 3 stop signs.
And I don't think we've been through similar discussions. I don't think they're going to come up with some new innovative way to address this, either like for a stop sign or if that's about your your limits. The other types of steps people take for traffic calming are, there's like sort of psychological signage you can do, or kind of close the narrow things down. Or none of those I think are really the secret here. So
We certainly don't work on east with a narrow road.
The stop signs don't work?
No, the narrow roads.
Oh, the narrow roads,
Down
okay, yeah.
Anyone.
Okay.
yeah. I don't see a big downside to going forward with the stop signs in all directions there.
No, I didn't close it,
Okay.
that's why, yeah, no, I didn't close it yet. Yeah.
Is there
Okay.
anyone on?
No one else is on.
No,
So I motion to close the public hearing regarding the three-way stop sign.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Um,
Now, we should vote on it.
You have two laws.
Two laws,
Somebody can
so-
make a motion to adopt one of them, okay? And if you adopt one, I'm
So-
assuming the other one goes
okay.
by the wayside.
So I'll motion to adopt the three-way stop sign.
I second.
Okay.
Oh,
Discussion,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
second, okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we don't need a roll call?
No. Yeah,
And so what happens to the first one? It just goes to the side. Excellent.
no action taken, okay.
Subsumed
great.
into the other one.
that's gonna be.
4,
It's gonna be
5.
5
Um,
for the three-way, and the next one will be 6.
right. Okay, so the next public hearing is proposed amendment to chapter 18, chapter 18 of the of our town code, which governs the Board of Ethics. So motion to open the public hearing,
I'll second.
discussion, all in favor? Any comments here regarding the Board of Ethics and the proposed, maybe I should read that here.
First, just summarize.
Just summarize, yeah, this is basically, we have a requirement in the current code that requires there to be a member, an employee, a member who is an employee of the town to be, to serve on the board.
And it's a 3-member board.
And it's a 3-member board, correct? Correct. And a chairperson. Right. And so the proposed new law is to not have a town board employee and open up that particular membership position to anyone.
When you spoke to the chair. Oh, wait, I'm not. Wait,
So that's,
I guess
yeah,
we're-
so anybody here want to speak to this? On Zoom?
Yes. One person right now.
Okay,
Simone Petromavis, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. My question before we even get to having a third person on is, I have a few questions. One, is that a new law to have 3 people on, or was it always supposed to be 3 and we only had 2? And if so, why? What does the ethics committee do? As far as I could tell, our last town supervisor was selling town property to a confidential secretary for a very low price. Where was the ethics committee? Who do they speak to? What exactly are they charged with? Where have they been with our board member who presents and votes on issues that directly enrich him personally? Where do they meet? How were they selected? Who are the people on it? And why now? Do they want a town board member on it or not want a town board member on it? I would ask if they could come and address the board for this hearing so we can understand a little bit more as to what they're charged with and how it runs, because as far as I could tell, there's been ethics issues for quite some time, and I haven't heard one thing from them. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Tony, you want me to address it?
Sure, go ahead.
Wait, we have to see if there's anybody else.
But still, yeah, still in a public hearing.
So Simone, to answer your question, the law as it stands allows for there to be at least 3 members of the ethics committee, one of which needs to be, according to the current law, a town employee. So at least 2 residents and 1 town employee for a makeup of 3 people on the board. As far as I know, to the best of my knowledge, although there have been issues that were raised over the past several years, the appropriate method of dealing with it is for matters to be referred to the ethics committee. They do not take them up on their own. But there has only been 2 members for quite some time, almost in 15, 20 years almost, the 2 members, but there has not in recent years been the 3rd town employee member appointed. So as a board, we decided to address the issue of changing that so that there would be 3 residents, minimum of 3 residents on the board of ethics, who can take ethics questions from either the community or from the town board or from employees in town, and start addressing issues. Does anybody, Tony, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to clarify is Simone mentioned that a town board member is a member of this Board of Ethics, and that's not correct. We don't have a town board member assigned to the Board of Ethics.
Currently.
Currently, correct.
Well, it would only be a liaison. It wouldn't be someone serving on the board.
No, according to the law as it's written now, they would serve on the board as the 3rd. So if you want to say tiebreaker or what have you, but at the time that this law was first drafted, the drafters apparently believed that would be a good thing to have someone who was an employee of the town to sit as the 3rd person. And since the board has been basically not functioning, or at least not meeting, and they don't have a 3rd person, that's what led me to address that perhaps we should change it so that there's 3 residents, and perhaps then if there were issues to address, they could be addressed.
Well,
I think we went back and forth a little bit about the pros and cons of having a town employee on the board.
Yeah, when I
Close it, correct?
we didn't close it, so yeah, that's fine.
So
Simone?
I want to thank Andrea for explaining it to me. Tony, I didn't say that there was a town member on the board or a town employee. I was just asking as to when that law went into effect, if in fact it did, that there should be a town employee on the board, and what the pros and cons of that would mean. I personally, in this hearing, wish there were more than these 2 members for 15 years or whatever it is on the board, because I don't see much being done, and I don't mean to downplay people who volunteer. But I think the ethics committee should be more active, whether there's a town employee on or not. Whatever you guys decide, I'm fine with that either way, or however they work together. But I think it should be more active. And I think there should be more than 2 people on that may or may not have met more than twice in 15 years, if in fact that's the facts.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else? John? No,
Dan,
go ahead.
wanted to say something?
Or
no, I
Dan?
was just going to say, there's some legitimate threads that could be discussed in here. What's before us is a little narrower. It's something that you raised up that we could clean up and would address this point that we've, only had 2 members on there to some extent just by virtue of the fact that we're taking this up and raising the profile of the committee, and we'll go out and solicit for participants. So, let's deal with the issue in front of us.
Yeah,
But as it's written now, it doesn't mean there can only be two. There could be more people to serve if they step up, more than just one more.
That's correct.
What's,
So if people want to volunteer to serve on the ethics committee.
And again, the Board of Ethics, as Andrea mentioned, they don't, they wait for a situation or an issue to be presented to them.
Right.
They're not proactive.
Right,
They're looking for an issue involving an employee of the town.
And I mean, the issue came up because I had received, someone had come to me and asked if they could be appointed to the committee. And when I made the suggestion, it came up then that there was actually not a seat available for an additional resident, but in fact, the seat that was available was empty because it required a town employee, and that's how the discussion began. And then we had it redrafted for purposes of this hearing for potential adoption to basically say that there would be at least 3 members. It doesn't prohibit there being a liaison from this town board. And it doesn't prohibit if we wanted to have a town employee. But I personally think that causes problems in and of itself, because then you're asking a town employee to potentially pass judgment on the actions of a colleague or, a coworker, where I really think it should be independent of that. That's just my opinion.
yeah, again, this is about the membership. So Greg, I have a question. Is there anything in the code, or is it silent, referable to making or forwarding an inquiry to the board? Is there any kind of triggering mechanism if somebody has any?
There's the town board can request an advisory opinion or any other individual on request or on request of the town board. So I mean, the standard common thing is there's something that's presented to the Board of Ethics by, could be a town board member, could be a town employee, could be a constituent. And
Right, that's what somebody can
There's no-
do, but
no-
I mean, there's nothing in the code that says, okay, if you have something you want to bring to the board's attention, this is what you just reach out and contact.
there, you have your board information on your website. If somebody had a complaint or an issue that they wanted an opinion on, they could send it directly to the Board of Ethics.
And that's been available since forever. Okay. So when you, this circles back to my question, when you spoke to the chair.
Yeah.
when
So
you
the chair, basically he, trying to look for my notes here. He said that, I questioned why has there always been a requirement to have a town employee?
Well, I'm not even on that. I want to ask a more basic question.
Mhm.
I mean, because the part of the discussion that was raised that the committee is not functioning or meeting. And
Just on that.
Yeah.
If there's no duly constituted Board of Ethics locally, you're not required to have one. You're required to have a code. Then it would go to the county Board of Ethics, any type of,
Right.
any type of issue that needed to be investigated or an opinion.
right, so we have one, even though we're not required to have one. And the issue which circles back to under the concept of whether it's not functioning or meeting, when you spoke to the chair, has there been any inquiries made that have been brought to his attention in recent memory by anybody from the community about
Not,
anything?
not recently. I mean, I didn't ask him when was the last time, but it's, yeah, there hasn't been anything recently brought up directly to the Board of Ethics Committee.
Yeah, so I mean, the trigger for the board's involvement is if somebody makes an inquiry. It's not, so it doesn't mean it's
Correct.
not functioning or meeting. It just means nobody's making an inquiry to ask them to do something, which has been available, sounds like,
Mhm.
since they've been on. So,
Now, when I questioned why there was a requirement to have a town employee, he said that it's because the issues that would be presented to the Board of Ethics would be issues relating to a public servant. And ideally, you want somebody who has experience and knows about being a public servant on the board. That was his rationale.
Or his reporting of the original rationale. We don't know.
Correct, yeah,
It's-
yeah.
you didn't have any legislative
actually,
intent when it
yeah,
was
that was
created, I
the- yeah.
presume.
Right.
Committee knows.
Right.
I spoke to one of the 2 gentlemen who sat on the board, and he said that,
Well, they still do, right?
yes, they do, but they haven't
You
met.
said
you.
sad like this. This
Well,
one.
because they haven't been active, they, apparently, when this Board of Ethics was constituted, there were issues in the town that, I guess the community was calling for such an ethics committee to be put together. I don't know what those issues were. And those issues were sent to the Board of Ethics and they were addressed at that time. And since that time, there have been no other issues. So I believe that, you know, I don't want to say people forgot about it, but it wasn't, you know, it's not one that gets much, what's the word I'm looking for?
They don't table at the fair.
Correct. It's not, you know, it's not the planning board, it's not the zoning board, it's not ADA, it's not, you know, it's not one of, I don't want to say more popular boards, but it's, unless you're really looking for it, it's not, there's no trails. So you really have to look for it. And so I don't even know if they really understood that they were still on the committee because it's been inactive for so long. And I mean, at least 15, 20 years. So the gentleman I spoke to said he's more than happy to continue to serve, but he'd be more than happy if we decided we wanted to put fresh members on the committee as well. So he had no opinion either way, but was more than happy to continue.
Who just spoke to Mandlicker?
Yes.
Mr. Mandlicker?
That's why I spoke to as well.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I did have, I just want to add, I did have, so when I was talking to Mr. Mandlicker, I asked him about, you know, all right, so if we were to put somebody who is a town employee on the board, is there someone you would recommend? And he said someone with longevity in the town. And he actually mentioned Lise Robertson, who's our town assessor. And she actually indicated she would be interested in doing that.
Yeah, I spoke with her briefly. She confirmed that as
Yeah.
well.
She has 37 years and could bring knowledge and history of the town and the understanding of the employees. Look forward to being appointed.
Again, I'm with, I think I want to interpret your position is even her willingness and competency and experience notwithstanding, you know, you can imagine situations where you know, she would have a clumsy situation if it was something to do with something on the board or some you know, situation that related to her employment. So
Could we amend it such that if that did arise, that we could have someone step up as a substitute?
they could recuse themselves. or
Right.
something,
Like
but-
an alternate, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And again, we're all in agreement that that doesn't, we are not limited to 3 members. It's just a minimum of 3 members. So we could potentially appoint 1 or 2 residents to the committee in addition to having a town employee. I don't mind either way. Like, I just felt that since the committee was inactive, that perhaps they take a more prominent role if there were 3 motivated residents sitting to address concerns as they were brought up. And
So maybe, you know, the code as presented here is to be modified, doesn't say you can't have an employee from the town
Right.
participate, and maybe we might feel, okay, if we get at least 3 residents, that way if the town employee needs to recuse or something because of that, then at least you have 3 people that can have a majority.
And it does say a majority of such members should be persons other than town employees.
Well, you know, if they had at least 3 that were not, then they could constitute something, an odd number that could make a decision.
Right.
Potentially. So, in other words, we could pass the code as presented and be flexible enough to go down any of those roads. if we want.
But as presented, it removes the requirement of having
Yeah,
town employee.
but it doesn't say we couldn't.
Right, okay, that's your point, yeah.
And there's no executive power. They're under advisory
Right.
opinions, and if there's something that would come up with a recommendation of action, with respect to the standards of conduct,
Mhm.
it would come back to this board for
Right,
consideration, so.
And then if there's still a question, it would be referred to the county. That's a matter of
It could go that way
hierarchy,
too.
right?
Well, there's
It
still,
could.
it's concurrent, so that somebody can go to the county at any time anyway.
But you would be making a decision if there was any recommendation for action. It would be your, it would not be the other group. They're advisory, investigatory and advisory in their capacity, which is the normal standard way that they are.
So right now, so the way it's worded now, it says at least 3 members to be appointed by the town board. So does that mean you can have as many people as you want?
Yes.
You could find them.
Find them, exactly, yeah. If you require monthly meetings, then that list will get a lot smaller. Okay. So a motion to. Yeah, all right, that's fine.
So do we,
Still hands up.
I think
Yeah.
Simone has.
Hi again. I just want to say, again, I agree with Andrea and Mary on this to make the committee more, have it be more active and have people, perhaps more people on it. I just want to say it should be more user-friendly as well. The 2 names that are on the committee were buried on the Board of Assessment page up until a few months ago. Now they have a separate page, but no real contact info, only a PO box. There's no email or phone number or anything. And there's also no instructions on how one would go about filing an ethics complaint. So all I would say is while we're doing this hearing and bringing it into the forefront, it should really be more user friendly. That's it. Thank you.
Simone.
That's Simone.
I mean, we could
Yeah.
always, once we decide what we're going to do, we constitute the committee, we can always task them to come up with, a list of best practices, that they would like to, the committee, and then put forth those practices
But it-
perhaps.
But
Yeah, but
there-
the whole, a lot of the premise here is that it's changing what it is. The premise is there is a committee. I mean, Simone's point is well taken. It should be an email, it should be ease of contact. That's, to
But
me,
again,
that's a given.
It says here that it's upon the request of the town board to make a request to the Board of Ethics.
Or anyone,
So there-
anyone can make it.
Well,
There's
the resident or anyone that has an issue can bring it to the town board, but it's a town board that will then go to the Board of Ethics.
The town board's the referring entity
Correct.
towards is that right? I'm not sure. What can, you were talking about that a little bit before.
Render advisory opinions to town employees on written request, and upon request of the town board, make recommendations to the town board as to any amendments. So really, it's only the town board really is only requesting for amendments. I think that the intent of having the code of ethics is that anyone can make an inquiry or a complaint that they think violates or abridges the standard of conduct.
but it doesn't come, it
Goes to
doesn't,
them.
it's not only the board that receives it, the ethics board can receive it
ethics
from
board
the
should-
public.
Yes,
But that's not what it-
absolutely. And the town board shouldn't get it until the ethics board's done its investigation.
That's not what it says currently, so maybe that wording needs to be
Well,
changed.
the problem, I think the problem is it's all in the town code, but you need to have a legal degree to understand what you're supposed to do. If we could figure out a way in clear communication that everyone could understand what to do and put it on the website, wouldn't that help?
You could adopt a standard form for an inquiry and just put it on the site. The idea is that until there's a determination, it does stay confidential.
Yeah,
Until there's some
obviously,
determination. So
obviously.
that may be the reason for the PO box. And it was 1970, so I'm not
Yeah.
sure exactly why that's in there. So.
Well, you can,
That's when it was established.
Yeah.
you can submit something securely by email.
100%. Didn't exist then.
I'm aware of that. I know about HTTPS.
This is the question.
Oh, I'm
To
there,
advisory opinions to
so.
town employees, one written request and according to the town board, so it makes it sound like they can come from other places, but I agree that that paragraph should probably be cleaned up.
You know, so that implies that it could be like a employee asking like, is what we're doing here in our department?
Correct.
Without
Mhm.
coming through the town board.
So can I make a suggestion that perhaps before we go ahead and vote on this all together, that we clean up paragraph B as well to clarify?
I'm
and then come
very,
back?
I'm very happy with that, that we clean up the language and come back.
There isn't a paragraph B, is there?
There it is.
There is.
In the current law,
Oh,
you're looking at the amendment.
We were only amending paragraph A?
But paragraph B needs help too.
Yes. So I volunteer to work on that a little bit and with Greg and circulate it to town board if we want to. Do we have to close the hearing and reopen it with a new publication?
You're going to make a substantive change, so yes, you
Okay.
have to do that. So you can close this now and make the changes and renotice it with whatever you.
so send
Conceptually,
it back to
so-
the drafting committee.
So motion to close the public hearing. on
Second.
Proposed chapter 18. Discussion. In favor? Okay, public
But-
comment.
But in the interim, Simone's point is a good one. We make sure that we could bring it, move up from the quill pen and maybe send an email address so someone could communicate
Yes.
with the committee, maybe.
Okay. Okay, public comment period number 1. Does anyone here want to say anything? On Zoom? Janet?
I'm looking. No.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so-
I think someone from the public wants to stand up
Really?
and say something.
Oh,
Room.
paying attention.
Yeah,
Yeah, you gotta go.
Your
Your
name
name
and
and Hamlet.
your hamlet.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm Letitia Stapleton in Golden's Bridge. And I just wanted to talk about Juneteenth. What a wonderful time we had, just as I said we would. It felt so warm. It felt so together. And next year, it'll even be better. But I see the growth. Last year, it was the beginning of it, and it just felt so warm. And I want to thank you, Mary. I want to thank you, Rich, Tony, Andrea, Dan. Thank you all. We're even in the Katona Lewisboro paper. I don't know who can see that. So I think that's basically it. Yeah, we just had so much fun. And thank you all for coming out and thank you all for donating. And we'll do it again next year.
Thanks, Letitia.
Thank you.
Okay, communications. I have a couple of things and they both relate to,
Tony, is there anyone on
oh,
Zoom
I don't think so.
for the public?
No. So for communications, I just had a couple of emails I want to share with everyone. These are specific to the fireworks event. First one is from Linda Presswolf. Hi, hello, Nicole and Park and Rec team. Last night's Lewisboro Town Park and Rec fireworks at Out True were spectacular and safe. In the 30-some years we've been residents here, we've seen many fireworks displays, and last night's by far was one of the best. Colorful, fabulous designs and patterns. Rapid fire entertainment lit up the night sky. As always, the entire Park and Rec staff on hand was well organized, courteous, and helpful. Many thanks also to Lewisboro PD and OVAC. There are also fire departments there. On hand to keep us safe in the event of any mishap, and we acknowledge the Park and Rec team for taking all steps and precautions necessary to avoid any mishaps or hazards. We overheard families within earshot, some first-time visitors to the fireworks, others repeat attendees, and all remarked about the grand spectacle promising to return next year. Well done. Henry Linda Wolf, Cross River. And the other one is from Timmy Parsons. Thank you to Tony and the town board and to our awesome Parks and Rec department. What an incredibly beautiful display of fireworks and start of the celebrations of the 4th of July. And so much fun to see so many friends we haven't seen in ages. I know the summer is a busy time for you all, but I hope you get to enjoy a bit of it. Thanks again for all your hard work. Best always to you, Timmy Parsons. That's what I have for communications. Anyone else? Communications?
We received an email from Adam Oakes. He wanted us to recognize the fact, let me pull it up. He says, "Good evening. Our congratulations and support of Shuming Jasmine Chang of Goldens Bridge, New York, on the appointment to the United States Military Academy, West Point, New York. And I would like to add my congratulations as well to her and her parents."
That's awesome. Congratulations. Graduate, I guess, of John Jay High School. Terrific. Okay. Consent agenda, motion to approve consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes from June 13th. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Old business. So this is a resolution to authorize to go out to bid for the replacement playground at the town park. So Keller Sessions put together the bid package. There's only a few pages of the introductory section of the bid package that's included in the agenda packet, but it's a much thicker document because it's got all the engineering information and construction drawings, et cetera. So this is a project that we had approved, so now we're authorizing to go out to bid for the work. So motion to authorize to send out the bid for the town park playground.
I second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It says Lewisboro Town Park Playground Replacement Specifications.
Correct. Yes, this is specifications, right? And this is, again, this is just the first few pages of the spec. It's a much larger document with all the engineering information, which I didn't think the town board would want to read. Probably wouldn't know what you're reading.
What it
Unless
is,
you know about
it's an
footings and things like
RFP.
So it's
It's
just
a
the
request for.
It's, yeah, basically, it's like the
A
request for,
proposal to
yeah.
install the equipment that
Correct.
we've already bought.
correct,
Correct.
that's correct, yes.
For those
And
in
to
the
take down the old,
audience and to take down the old.
yes, correct, so for, yes, thank you. This is the audience here. Okay. New business, so we have,
I have something for all business.
okay,
Um,
it's not on the agenda. Go ahead.
But it's all business though.
Okay, okay.
So just going back to LBA opening day. It was a great success. So revisiting that great success, but I wanted to inquire of the town board of considering a proclamation in the name of Bill Bongiorno, who independently secured the monies, not only that, but he dedicated so much time. He spent hours and days landscaping with the materials that were donated by Copia. And he made the applications to ACART for the signs, and he really, and I spoke to the president of LBA, and he was in agreement that really Bill was so instrumental in the success of that day. And to the contributions to the town, that I would ask that we consider a proclamation in his name, thanking him for all the hard work that he put into that.
So what I recommend is put that on the future agenda, like the next one,
Okay.
with the proclamation, so we can read it.
You want me to draft it?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so new business. So the Vista Cub Scouts Pack 101 requested an exception to our town code 167.7E to launch model rockets on a true farm. And I have I received today the actual application that they sent in. Or actually they sent it over the weekend, I think. And the email, which basically says, this is Lewisboro Cub Scout Pack 101 would like to request an exception pursuant to the Lewisboro Town Code section, which I just mentioned, allow them to fly model rockets as part of a scout meeting at Onachuru on August 6th.
What does the code provision say? Out of curiosity.
Right, there's like no drones, no rockets.
I don't think there is anything about
There's,
model
I think
rockets.
this state,
I'm here on behalf of the back.
Oh, you are, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I just was curious, what, is there any problem with the code that we're looking for an exception?
So
Because I'm presuming there's not a model rocket,
actually, yeah.
prohibition in the code provision.
It refers to airborne remote aircraft, including rockets.
Just the what, I'm sorry?
Airborne remote controlled aircraft, including rockets.
Any airborne remote
It's
control,
a pretty broad.
including but not limited to model airplanes, model helicopters, drones, rockets, or gliders in the public, except for in Ontario, Vista and Parks, other parks during the months of December, January, February, March. So you're asking for an exception to that, which is, you're doing this in August.
My reading of the provision is December through March, you register with Parks and Rec, otherwise you need an exception from the town.
Correct,
Yes.
correct.
It seems like
Now, let
a
me
very
see.
accurate
Strict
interpretation.
construction
Yeah.
instead of model. Model rocket is not a rocket. Okay, so move for the exception. Feels like a
I'll
little
second.
short.
Tony's still
Yeah,
reading. Give him a minute.
I'm reading the application just to see if there's any mention of that, but that's good. Yeah, it's fine.
Motion and
Yeah,
second.
do I have a discussion?
It's,
All in favor?
Aye.
Done. Thank you. Okay. I used to launch model rockets.
if you
They're
want to
fun.
invite the board members
Anybody
to
wants to
come,
I'll
August
try.
6th it is?
August 6th.
That
Absolutely.
sounds like,
Has that been done before in the past? I don't
No,
remember my,
It's part of this Cub Scout curriculum now, so a lot of PACs are doing it. I don't think we ever.
oh, okay, great,
that sounds,
cool.
I always loved the Pinewood Derby.
I
That was my
can't,
fun-
I
that was
can't
my
wait to
favorite.
go.
I guess with the popularity of SpaceX and all that.
Yeah, they're trying to
Right.
have more.
Yeah.
As well they
Cool.
should.
Okay, good. So next is a resolution to approve Lewisboro Library's request to hold a library fair on True Farm on September 17th and for earliest setup donation dates.
I move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this is, there's multiples here. This is the approval of annual renewal of KLSD agreements and authorizing supervisors to sign. So we'll start with the first one, which is for facilities use. And the facilities use is basically, they allow us to use their facilities for, the schools, for example, the school buildings for different events, camp,
Basketball.
et cetera,
camp.
basketball, yeah. And we authorize them to use our parks, for example, and buildings that are specified in the agreement. So it's just a renewal of that agreement for facilities use,
So there's no change to it.
no change.
Well,
It's just the term.
What's the term on when this expires, the
We
current?
renew it annually.
You do.
It's annually.
It's a 2015 agreement.
What's the date when the current, it's annual renewal, so when is the
July
time?
1st and 30th.
Looks like July
15th,
7th.
July 7th, terminates August 31st. The new one, so it's, terminates in August.
Okay, well, I'd be curious to look at the base document, see if you want to take a look at it.
I gave it to you.
No, you gave me the
I gave you the base
the
document. too.
amendment, I don't know what.
If you look at the original email I sent out, I had the base document, which is right here. What do you want to know about the base document?
Just to take some time to read it, see if any changes from 2015 or any amendments, that's all.
Okay, what does the rest of the board say?
Is there a motion?
That's important. Is there anything that's been held up?
Nothing has been changed, and it's just again, the list of
Yeah,
facilities.
we're not aware of any flaws in the agreement that have been bugging us.
Correct.
And this is a mutual agreement. There's no monies being exchanged.
And they
So
are also working with the Parks and Rec Department by giving them some space this summer
Sure.
with this building formerly
Take
known
the
as
top
Lewisboro Elementary for the summer camp.
One should maybe just could table for a second, I'll look quick, maybe
Okay,
go
so
to the
let's
other
move on to the-
components.
The salt and fuel. So again, this is an amendment to the existing salt and fuel agreement, which basically allows the town to purchase fuel from the school district. They charge an incremental service fee, I think it was 10 cents a gallon. And then 10 cents per gallon fuel representing the school district service fee. And they purchase salt from us. The same deal, but $2 per ton is our service fee. So that's the uplift that we charge them. And this is again-
Gas prices the way they are. I
Yeah.
have no complaints with the way gas prices are.
Right. So, and again, someone has to motion the
I
authorizing supervisor
motion
to
that
sign.
we sign the salt and gas agreement with the Katona Lewisboro School District.
And that you authorize the supervisor to do so.
And I authorize the supervisor to sign said agreement.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Rich, do you want to vote yes on that?
Yes, I do.
Aye. So the next one is the bus rental. Similar thing, it's just amending, it's extending the term of the agreement. The Parks and Rec Department uses school buses for the summer camp program during the months of July and August. Parks pay $775 per bus. So the price has not changed since 2020. This agreement was first executed, so this is just extending it for another term, which terminates June 30th of next year.
I'll move.
And I will second.
Discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Now, I do have a new one that's not on the list. I just received this amendment late on Friday. This is for the actual rental of the office space at the former Lewisboro Elementary School. The rent does not change. And basically, it just extends the agreement for another year, till June 30th of 2023.
When is when does it end? June 30th is when it ends?
It ends, yes.
And what is that for?
That's for rental of the office space.
Actually, okay, so we'll finish up with, I guess, that.
So I need a motion.
I move that we renew our rental agreement for office space from Katona Lewisboro School District and authorize the supervisor to sign said agreement.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, circling back to this now.
Yeah.
I guess, the thing I wanted to look at, I was, meeting with the Grant Advisory Committee. One of the things that Adam Oakes brought up, which I thought was a good point as far as, more with this emergency management hat on, our ability to use, school district facility in the event of any kind of, emergency, for example, as a charging station, or warming station, which in recent years, the library's been used for one. And my understanding is that we have I think the high school has a generator, at least in part. And
High school does. I don't think the town office, Lewisboro Elementary does.
No, but that's something, if we had an agreement with the
Yes.
school district, then we could apply for FEMA grant mitigation to get
Right.
something installed at Lewisboro.
right, and it's very cost beneficial. I wanted to take a look at that. I'd like there to be an opportunity that, especially so we're coming into, summer storm season, we have an opportunity to use an appropriate school facility, aside from just the library, which will have more capacity and everything else.
So we can certainly, I mean, it's been discussed before. We can certainly, put our wants together, a list of what we would like to have, and then it could always be an amendment to the existing facilities agreement.
Yeah, that's something Adam Oakes brought up, and I think based upon the season that we're at, I think that's something that should be looked at as soon as possible, so we can, based upon
Yeah.
the FEMA component of it.
I've spoken with Adam at great length as far as the emergency management program. I did
Right.
that initial training in April
Couple
or
months
no,
ago,
March, I think it was.
So,
And so it's really, it is to everyone's advantage
Right.
to work out
So
an
is it,
amendment.
that's best to table this until the July meeting, or is it?
No.
that we're
No,
gonna
no.
vote on it and then amend it?
Vote on this
think
and then
we
amend
should-
it.
I just want to see if there was anything speaking on it, so it's silent on it. I just would like it to be a priority that we can get something in place as the recommendation by Adam, brought that to my attention and hearing from Mary as far as the FEMA component of it and getting funding for that. It's something we should move expeditiously on for the summer storm season.
Okay.
So I move that we accept the facilities use agreement with the Kitona Lewisboro School District and authorize the supervisor to sign said agreement.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
So
Okay.
when you meet with the superintendent,
Mhm.
or maybe we could set up an
Yeah, we can set up a
appointment
separate meeting, yeah, for.
to
emergency
talk
management.
about
Yep.
that. That would be lovely.
Okay, next issue is, there was a request by a town resident to use the town park for overflow for a wedding reception that's going to be held at Walkabout Country Club. So I'll just read the initial email from Peter Beardsley. As I indicated in our conversation, our son Jeff is getting married on Saturday, July 9th. The ceremony is at our house and the reception is at Walkabout Country Club. Some guests will park at the club and some will arrive in vans from their hotels, but we anticipated a need for some overflow parking from about 2:30 in the afternoon until about 10 o'clock at night. I'm not sure of the number at this point, but we'll check with Jeff and Corinne in the next few days. He did get back to me later on saying that they're looking at about 20 cars. So I spoke to Nicole. She has no issues with this. And we can, set aside a section of the parking lot, maybe the section that's parallel to Route 35 for them to park their cars.
So it won't, on the weekends, we won't run into any capacity issue, right, for the
No.
parking lot? Okay.
There's no
Saturday,
baseball
July
game?
9th. No, not that, well, I checked with Nicole, she didn't have an issue with it.
No pickleball tournament. That's
Do we charge fee for parking?
No,
And it's residents. So.
yeah, it's a resident.
Okay.
We
So,
wouldn't ever turn down a friendly donation of thanks.
sure,
Department of Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, exactly.
exactly, okay. So, motion to allow the town park to be used for overflow parking by Peter Beardsley and the wedding.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Uh,
And I have one more, it's a new item. This is, I had emailed the board on Friday. It's a proposal that came from Delaware Engineering for, we have to do something called an isotherm test for the upcoming plant expansion at Oak Ridge to mitigate the PFAS issues. And basically what they do is they validate that based on the source water that comes into the plant and goes through the proposed filtering, that it will indeed, it will remove PFAS, but the question is, how long will it take for the carbon, for example, to reach its end of life? And so the health department needs to know that. And the price for this isotherm test, which is, it's $12,526. It was a more expensive ACT test for $25K, but I'm speaking to the health department, they're okay with the isotherm test. And I actually reached out to the health department to say, hey, we're not the first ones doing this. Can we use test results from other installations? And they said they thought that was a good idea. But then when they brought up the fact that the source water here has there's other qualities within, I should say qualities, other characteristics of the source water that that may impact the lifespan of the carbon. So they will need to go through this test specific to Oak Ridge.
Water is special.
Because of
It needs
the
its own
hardness,
test.
yeah, because of the extra iron and, yeah. Correct.
And the money
Well, the
comes-
design is done. Now they just need to determine, okay, how long, that's a good design, it's gonna work.
Right.
But how often do you need to change out the carbon? Is it gonna be 18 months or is it gonna be 12 months?
Still part of the.
But it's part of the health department wants to know that, right?
And which line do these funds come from? It comes from?
It comes from the water district, but this will be submitted as part of the expenses that would be ultimately paid for by the
Grant.
the EPA money that we're getting.
Right.
The grant, right. So yeah, and just to you may ask, okay, well, do we have another quote that we can compare this to? So as I explained in the email, the proposal came from Cummins Wagner, which is the parent of Seaward Equipment, who represents Calgon in New York State. Calgon are the manufacturers providing the GAC filters and media to be used as part of the Oak Ridge water treatment plant expansion. So essentially, it's a sole source situation that we're in. So I guess motion to approve the isotherm testing for $12,526.
Are you signing that or do I authorize?
I have to, yeah, I'm gonna have to authorize, yeah, so maybe someone should motion. I don't have to sign anything currently, I just have to send them an email authorizing it.
And because it's
So I guess it's,
a
yeah.
certain amount of, because it's that amount of money, we have to do a roll call. vote?
The expenditure would recommend a roll call.
Okay.
It's motion to accept the proposal. of
Motion to accept the
Delaware.
proposal, okay.
Yeah, the cost not to exceed $12,500 and
Okay.
authorizing the supervisor to sign.
What he said.
Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Second. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye. Roll call vote that.
Roll call, Andrea,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
I'm a yes, Dan, I mean, sorry.
People get us confused all the time. Yes.
You guys are twins.
Mary Jo, yes.
Tom, can you send that to me via email?
Sure, I will, yep, yep. Okay, so public comment number 2. Anyone here would like to comment? How about on Zoom?
Yes. Simone, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi again. I didn't know we were going to talk about water at Oak Ridge, so I didn't have time to even research or ask any questions. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. But why do the cheaper tests when you have a choice of 2 tests? And I understand the health department's willing to accept the cheaper test, but why not do the other tests? And what's the difference between the 2 tests? Does the other test give a more intense reading of things? I'd like to understand that, being that we allegedly are getting so much money next year to help alleviate and correct this awful over decades long issue at Oak Ridge. So that would be my question and my concern. I'm hoping that the cheaper test is just as good, but I would ask, why not do the more expensive one? Thank you.
I could probably speak to that. So I had a pretty lengthy conversation with the Department of Health about this, Simone, and they said the isotherm is all they need. They don't need the other one. And I can't tell you exactly what the difference is. But the isotherm is what is done for. Yeah, there is, let's see. Accelerated column test. Yeah, so they need 20-foot. Yeah, there's it's a very technical, description.
But ultimately,
But
the
it's-
health department is asking for this.
Correct.
It's not something that the unit inherently
What-
needs to deliver
Right.
clean water
Mhm.
and all that, but they need it in order to be able to
The
assess
cut- the-
the
yeah.
lifetime of the filter medium or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how I understood it, that they need to know basically how often they need to change out that particular component and how long it
So
will work
this-
efficiently.
This test is adequate to that purpose.
That was my
Right.
understanding.
I mean, the manufacturer is the one that came back to us with the 2 options. The manufacturer being the company that's doing the testing. So I reviewed that with the health department together with Delaware Engineering, and they said the isotherm test is sufficient.
To identify how long you have to change, whatever you have to change.
Correct. And again, this is for PFAS, which is the new thing that we're looking to
The
correct.
forever chemical
Right,
is in every single newspaper these days.
correct. Right. Did we did, we did the roll call, right? Yes.
We did.
Okay.
So now we're to the approval.
Approval of claims, so.
No, we're still in the middle of the public comment.
Oh.
Is there anyone else?
No.
Sorry.
I move that we close the second public comment.
I don't think you have
Don't
to.
have to close this? Oh,
Thanks. Amy. So motion to approve claims,
So moved.
discussion. All in
Do you need
favor?
a second?
Second.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Okay. Polling of the board.
Right now.
Oh, yeah, no, just
All
second.
in favor?
I'm trying to.
You're running ahead of yourself.
Yeah, it's on 9 o'clock. Yeah.
You can't wait to get into executive session.
Yeah.
Can we get the
So I
votes?
think we got the votes.
Aye.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Right. Okay, now we can go to polling of the board. I guess I'll start this time. So we had a busy month. So I'll go down the list of exciting community-based things that we did, which was awesome.
You're gonna take them all up?
I'll do high level, and if anyone
Okay.
wants to add color, they can.
Thank you.
So June 15th, I'd like to thank the Lions Club, including our town clerk, Janet Donahue, for helping us run a barbecue dinner for our senior citizens. We had about 45 senior citizens, I think it was, at the Town Park Pavilion. That was June 15th. June 17th, there was the Lewisboro Playground Project Food Truck Fridays. And that was a great event. Lots of people turned out for that. And it was just another great community event. We should do more of those.
It was over 300 people.
Yeah, 300,
Yes.
300, okay. June 18th, so that was a busy weekend. We had Juneteenth. And that was also a great event with a live band. We had a DJ,
It was a jazz trio.
jazz trio. Is that still considered a band?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but it's.
So it's a
specific.
jazz trio. And an awesome DJ. We need to bring him back for another event. He was really, really good.
I have his card.
Do you? Okay. So thanks again to Dawn, Cynthia, and Tisha for helping you organize, and Mary for doing your part. It was a great event. June 24th, we had Relay for Life at the track, John Jay High School. Lions again, were out there grilling burgers, and Janet was out there again, so thank you, Janet. And another great event for raising funds for American Cancer Society. And then June 26th, yesterday we had,
25th.
oh, I'm sorry, I missed the fireworks. We had the fireworks June 25th. And that was an awesome event as well. It was, I think, well attended. The two bands were awesome. I got to press the button for the first firework, and that was pretty cool. Stand right below it and see it blow up. So yeah, so that was a fun night. And again, thanks to the Lions Club, they were out there. The food truck vendors were out there. Parks and Rec did a great job, both with setting up and cleaning up afterwards. And the folks that went out Sunday morning early, the PrAC members who volunteered their time. Mary was out there early in the morning.
It was Eric, Peter, Meg Kaplan, Nicole Caviola, myself, Jason from Pride, as well as from, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, we had a
From
couple
the
volunteers.
Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
from the playground committee, Valerie
Yeah, Valerie.
was there as
Right.
well, and a
Mhm.
couple of volunteers.
From, yeah, community service, a couple of kids doing
Yeah.
community service work, yeah.
2 hours of a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that was fireworks. And then yesterday, we had Pride in the Park. So we went from from the fireworks straight to Pride in the same location. And yeah, it was a great event. And thank you again, Mary, for being the town board liaison to the Pride Task Force, and for helping with making that a successful event. It was well attended, and went on till about 7:30. I was there later,
Yeah, it was.
watching the comedians. It was pretty funny.
Finally cleaned up.
And
around
again,
15.
thanks to the volunteers who were cleaning up. So I'm sure the
Yeah.
usual suspects, and yeah. Okay, I think that's all I have. Rich?
Fill in a little bit. Second to everything our supervisor spoke about. Juneteenth and the Lewisboro Pride events will be on LCTV Channel 20, so look for that coming up. Also want to thank all of our the officials that were at the recent events, so County Executive and Deputy County Executive and Chris Burdick and Pete Harcum, who at our Juneteenth, and Pete Harcum was at, Ken Jenkins is at Pride, and we appreciate their support joining in our community on these events. Tomorrow is primary day, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. for Democratic and Republican candidates for governor and lieutenant governor, I believe. So make sure you get out and vote for the candidate of your choice.
And the second one's in August.
Right, for
August
congressional.
23rd.
For congressional, yes. And June was a tremendous month for our community, and who would have thought that Lewisboro is the northeastern Westchester place to be in June. So it's just great to see our community come together with these events, joyous events, celebrating being together, and just as one community. It's great to see.
Andrew, or,
No, no,
that's
Andrea
right, yeah,
can go
because I
next.
was
That's
gonna
fine.
say, did I do Mary?
No, that's all right. I can save it for last.
This weekend was just phenomenal. It was just so nice to see the community out together again with the children running around and the jumpy castles and all of it. It was like a postcard. It was just wonderful. I don't think that we can thank Ms. Mary Shaw quite enough for the time and effort that she put in. And when you talk about getting down in the dirt, she did. She busted her, you know what? And she got the two events done with wonderful volunteers in town. So thank you, Mary, for all your hard work. You get to rest a little bit now. And just happy 4th of July to everyone this weekend.
Go ahead.
No, it's Dan's turn.
Oh, okay, Dan, it's your turn.
I'll just add one more tremendously fun event, and that is the gas lawn equipment. Okay, it's not quite as fun as fireworks and food.
There's no fireworks
and-
with the gas.
No music?
But,
You get $100.
you know, we got some people at the recycling center, and they brought in their old gas powered leaf blowers and gave them a coupon for $100 off at a local retailer for an electric equivalent. And that'll be going on for the next 5 weeks and during recycling Saturdays. So it's a chance to, turn down the noise level in your landscaping work and be able to listen to your podcasts and, great opportunity.
We give a little shout out to that local retailer.
Oh, yeah. And so Copia is participating. Thank you, Copia.
That's
And
at the corner of 123 and East,
That's right.
in the best hamlet of all, this.
That's right. And
23,
also,
also known as Smith Ridge Road.
and also Chubby's over in Scott's Corners. Yeah.
Okay. Mary?
It's June. Happy Pride, everyone. But it's also that yellow envelope time of year. And on the yellow envelope, it says dog license renewal. So if you have a dog like me, you'll get one of these envelopes. The goal is to open it up and pay your bill. And when you get it paid, it will say paid. It's really important that we know what dogs are in the neighborhood so we can keep everyone safe. You're legally obliged to register your dog. It's safe not only for your neighbors, but for your dog as well. So if you're Milo or Olive or Wheatley get lost, it's easier to help bring them back to you. So thanks to Janet and Jen in the town clerk's office for doing a bang up job about that. As far as Juneteenth goes, I just want to give a huge shout out of gratitude. Our town members have donated 4,000 $295 to make Juneteenth happen. You know, that kind of support just is so, it leaves me speechless. I am so grateful. Thank you to everyone who donated. And you can still donate by sending a check to the town hall, to the town of Lewisboro, and put Juneteenth in the memo because we're getting ready for next year. So thank you very much. And, you know, Pride was an incredible event. It was really very hot, but everybody came out and supported one another. And we had great conversations both at Juneteenth and Pride. And when George Latimer showed up at Pride, he said, it's wonderful how inclusive everybody is. And I told him, yes, we even welcome people from down county. He looked at me like, okay. But seriously, we do, it's so incredible that what we've done is start on the path to making sure everyone feels like they belong. And it's a great thing. So thank you.
So I have one more thing to add. So last year during COVID, it was during one of the, after we were through one of the waves and things looked like they were getting better, we decided, I was sitting down with Parks and Rec trying to figure out what can we do for the community. So we decided to open up the pool for free, and we had a band.
That's right.
And it was such an amazing event last year that we decided to do it again this year. So July 4th, between 2 and 6, the pool is open for free to town residents. And there will be a band, Platinum Moon again, excellent band, John Jay graduates.
That was the second group, right?
Yeah, that was the second group, yeah. So
They played for the fireworks. There were two
They played
bands
for
that played
yeah, they were the
in the
second,
evening of the fireworks. They were the louder.
yeah. It
They were
was
both
good.
amazing.
Yeah, they were both.
They mentioned they're gonna be at the Pleasantville Music Festival. right,
Yeah,
this summer.
they do that, yeah.
Oh,
So
and-
July 4th, yeah, so don't forget, July 4th, be at the town pool. And I think that's it. Okay, so,
Next meeting.
next meeting, announcements, town board meeting, Monday, July 11th, 2022, at 7:30 PM at the Townhouse, 11 Main Street, South Salem. Motion to go into executive session. So to discuss personnel issues, and yes,
I have an
And-
advice of counsel.
and personnel and also property issue. Yeah. And what?
And advice of counsel.
And advice of counsel. Okay.
Second on the motion.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone, for coming out, including the huge crowd here tonight. Thank you.
You stay behind the development road.